So, we'll move on to our next movie. Over to Theater 2. We have Sphere from 1998, starring Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, and Samuel L. Jackson. Directed by Barry Levinson. So, let's hit the trailer this time.
Yeah, let's actually remember to do that part.
What did you tell him?
What did I tell him? I told him I was here to see the plane crash. That's my job.
Good.
There was no plane crash.
Spacecraft.
But that was a report about a possible encounter with an alien being.
He's like, you gotta get me to the survivors
Human
within
contact
24
theory
hours.
was recommended in the Goodman Report. We have a biochemist to assess the physiology of the unknown life form. We have a mathematician, because that'll probably be our common language. And we have an astrophysicist to locate its place in the cosmos. Try to relax.
So you're saying that you have a fuselage from a spacecraft over a half a mile long that crashed into the ocean 300 years ago and it's completely intact?
That's right. And the kicker is, something's still running inside.
That's the heart of darkness. We go there.
Wouldn't it have been funny if they went in there and the thing
There
running
keep
inside
coming
was
off
just
this
the
thing, or is
Energizer
it just
Bunny
happy to see
banging
me?
the drum. Like he's still going and going.
Anybody else wonder who the hell opened that door?
Energizer Bunny.
Could have been an automatic door. Those exist now.
It's human.
What's in his hand?
I don't know. What is it?
Smokehouse almonds.
It's an American spaceship.
In the 8,000 years of recorded history, this is a first. You are now online with an alien intelligence.
Its name is Jerry?
He's happy.
What's with all these spheres in the ocean?
What happens
Sorry.
if Jerry gets mad?
This is how you spell sphere.
Hey guys, I'm getting a reading on the sonar. You're not alone out there.
It's the Energizer Bunny. Anyway, oh, this was a Michael Crichton novel?
This was a Michael Crichton
That's
novel,
right.
and I had excitement. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna like." I love Michael Crichton because Jurassic who doesn't love Jurassic Park. And then I started watching this film, and I'm like, man, this guy really has an obsession with elderly doctors and middle-aged women doctors and a snarky, humorous doctor, all being let in by like an old I was like this. The first 15 minutes of this movie is basically the setup to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, these are the same characters.
Yeah, it's the same characters.
They're
Exactly.
the same characters from Jurassic Park. Samuel L. Jackson is Jeff Goldblum.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Laura Dern is Sharon Stone. See, the same stuff.
Holds together.
It's Sam Neill, Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, you got Queen Latifah playing the role of Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's what's funny.
It's all there.
And the guy, who's like the head guy down on the station, that's Hammond. So it's like it's all the same characters. Yeah. Yep. Michael Crichton. Definitely a Michael Crichton. Look, I like this movie better than like most people, I think, because I noticed after the fact that it has like a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It is not like
people seem to hate this movie. Yeah. I thought it was fine. I mean,
I didn't
we'll get into
hate
it.
the movie, but I found it like slid off in the last quarter, and there was some things that just was like, really? All right, okay.
The science is awful. Like they
science
say
is
they
a bit
crash through a
weird.
black hole. You can't. A black hole is not a wormhole. You can't crash into a black hole and end somewhere else. All of your atoms have been destroyed, and then you're stuck in a well of gravity for all time.
Well, they
No.
believe
Like in
there
Interstellar.
is some belief that it actually comes out on the other side. Like you're just gonna be.
No,
on
nobody
the other
thinks
side.
that.
Liv Schreiber said it was
There's some
rudimentary
argument.
astrophysics in this movie.
No, nobody thinks that. Trust me, black hole is the end. You like a wormhole is a different thing, and a wormhole is just theoretical. We don't know if they exist or not, but you don't travel through a black hole, and then
there's a
up
chance
300 years behind. Like that's not that's the worst method of time travel we're gonna cover tonight. Way worse than just whatever the hell H.G. Wells came up with, which they don't even explain. This is still worse than that.
Hit a vaporizer.
Because their explanation is awful. See, that's one thing. Like, if your explanation sucks, just don't explain things. Like, that movie of Jordan Peele's I found sucked when he started to try to explain things. No, I liked Get Out a lot. The one after that. With, like, the people that knock inside like this. You never saw that one?
No.
Did you ever see that one, Murphy?
No, I haven't seen any Jordan Peele movies.
What?
Man, yeah,
they're good.
I want to see the one. I do want to see. Was it?
Can't believe you haven't seen Get Out. Get Out is awesome.
Yeah, I hear good things about Get Out. I haven't watched it. I've been told to watch it several times. I want to watch the one that's got like aliens in it or whatever. The newest one.
It's okay. It's like half the movie Get Out is.
Okay, we're talking about another film today. All right,
yeah.
Let's
back to Sphere.
Sphere.
Yeah.
So Sphere.
Here's my thing with this movie. Okay, I really enjoy watching this movie because I enjoy the performances, and I'm not a big Jurassic Park fan. So for me, if I'm gonna go dig in with those characters, I would rather watch this movie than Jurassic Park. I know to both of you that's probably crazy.
That's blasphemy. Blasphemy.
I don't think
Jurassic Park's one of the best movies ever.
I feel like the majority of society would think you're crazy for having that thought.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm not a big Jurassic Park fan. I just don't like. I can watch the movie. I'm not a. It came out at the wrong time for me as well, and I go back and I watch it, and it's just not. It's not for me. I'd rather watch this
for
movie.
Me. It came out at the perfect time. I was
perfect time.
10. Yeah. I was like 10.
Yeah.
It was like dinosaurs and like, oh my god, and witty dialogue.
But I do agree that the characters are very, very similar. For this, reason why I like this movie is I enjoy the mystery and like the scientists try to figure out what's going on. How did this happen? What do we do next? What is the logic behind the time travel aspect of it?
And the weird things that they see. Like
the weird things they see, and like
it takes a weird
and trying to figure it out
with the manifestation stuff.
Yes, it definitely does, and then I agree with you that the final like third of the movie was not executed properly. But everything up to that point, I really, really, really love, and then I don't think they stuck the landing. I think that there were some problems in production, and we'll probably get to that in morsels, but. For me, I really enjoyed Dustin Hoffman in this movie. I love his performance. Sharon Stone, not so much. I find her just to be kind of one note, the bitchy kind of ex-girlfriend that hates, that hates her therapist and her boyfriend.
That's a bit of a recycled character for me. I was like, as soon as they show that they were used to date, I was just like, not again. Like, I don't need to see that dynamic again. It's never interesting.
For me, I was not.
Some writers are obsessed with exes. Have you noticed that? Like some writers just love exes.
Yeah. It's how you get out, them feelings, which I'll have. I've got some.
I guess.
Anyway, thing is, I wasn't a big fan of Dustin Hoffman. I don't think he was the right choice for this film.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Like, I really probably could have enjoyed maybe any other leading man behind this. He adds a certain likability to the character, but he's just so, as you said, one note with Sharon Stone. I found Dustin Hoffman to be kind of one note in this film.
The leads aren't strong. Samuel L. Jackson's pretty cool.
Leif Schreiber together,
Leif Schreiber's always good. Yeah. Queen Latifah's fine, I guess. I don't know. It's funny you say you love the performances in this movie, Jeff, because they're not the strongest from where I'm sitting.
I think that they're good up until the final part of the movie. I think that I don't think it's the actors' faults. I feel like the movie wasn't executed properly at the end. You know, that's, and even Dustin Hoffman says that. I know he said that after the movie came out, maybe a few years after, he was unhappy with the way they finished the movie.
Yeah,
Maybe they run out of
they
money.
apparently rushed it.
You know,
They rushed it for the release date. Is what apparently was the rushing for the release date, so they didn't take the time to flesh out the parts that they needed to. So yeah.
You know, this is our time travel episode, fellas, and I haven't seen this episode we're doing right now before. So as a matter of deductive logic, we're not
Right.
going to survive this podcast.
well, I was wondering if either of you were going to be like, how is this a time travel movie? You know, like, because a lot of people said that to me. They're like, that's not a time travel. Cousin Dave was very much like, he's like, that's not a time travel movie. That's an at the bottom of the ocean, right? He's like,
barely a time travel movie. The time travel is just like the device that puts the ship under the ocean.
Yeah,
that's right. It's the whole reason they're there,
through a black hole, traveling through their black hole to get into the ocean 300 years in the past, and then the time stuff doesn't matter.
Let's travel through black hole and break this down and get into the parts and come full circle.
The black hole might be the third act. We could call that a black hole.
So that's fair, yeah. The story begins with Dr. Norman Goodman, played by Dustin Hoffman, a psychiatrist known for handling crash survivors. He's being flown.
Do we call him Dr. Grant for the rest of this?
Yeah, we'll call him Dr. Grant.
Call him Dr. Grant. All right.
So yeah, he's being summoned to a site where he believes there's a bunch of plane crash survivors in the middle of the ocean, and he needs to get there right away because the first 24 hours is super important, and he thinks it's a plane crash, but you know, he swiftly discovers that it's not a plane crash. They think they found an alien spaceship under the water, and based off of his written notes earlier, they've assembled him in this team of crackpot scientists where we have you know,
because they think it's made out of metals they haven't seen before. They're like, it's not made out of material we're unfamiliar with, so it must be aliens. That's their
so we've got astrophysicist Dr. Ted Fielding, played by Liev Schreiber, biochemicist Dr. Beth Halpern, played by Sharon Stone, and then we have Samuel L. Jackson's character, who
Harry.
What's his name again?
He's the
Harry,
mathematician.
Dr. Harry Adams. Yeah, he's the mathematician. So yeah, these guys are all gathered together to check out this ship that has like a century's worth of coral growth on it, and they need to figure out, you know, how did this super advanced spaceship get there. They go through their whole medical test and examinations and receive dive briefing from their instructor, who's played by James Pickens Jr. And then they proceed to take a submersible, which this leads to my favorite scene.
Your mic's crackling a little there, Murphy. Maybe you're just a little too close or something, but you're getting some crackling.
I might be a little too close. My bad. So yeah, these guys head down to a submersible, and this leads to my favorite scene.
How you holding up there,
What's up, Ryan?
I'm loose. You loose? I'm loose. I'm loose.
Hope it's not made out of carbon fiber.
I had a few thoughts about that, especially when they said they were in the river, under the ocean, under the river, in the ocean.
Yeah.
Those things do exist. There's lakes under the ocean.
So if you didn't hear that, because Davan probably talked over it, they were saying he's loose, I'm loose, and then the thing starts shaking, and he's like, oh, I'm tight. You know, I love it.
Tight.
Good line.
He's good in this.
Like nobody wants to be there as soon as they find out it's aliens. They're all like, "Oh shit, aliens! What? We don't want to be here." And Liev Schreiber's the only one who's just like, "Shit, yeah, it's aliens. You guys don't want to meet aliens? It's awesome."
Yeah. Like,
you could say that you could say after he gets killed, the movie really goes downhill.
Yeah,
it's true.
Kinda.
It's true. I was kind of hoping that whole kill scene was just like some manifestation or just like a dream or something. But no,
because the other two are so bland. And Samuel L. Jackson's character is asleep for most of it, or at least for a lot of it.
He was shooting Jackie Brown. That's why he was asleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Jackie Brown's a way better movie than this. Jackie Brown's one of my favorites.
So yeah, we get this little scene where they're like sucking on helium, and it's revealed that this entire atmosphere of this undersubmersible is helium because of the gases to like alleviate the pressure. Which is like, okay, how did this whole thing not become a Hindenburg when they had a fire later on in the film? It just that bugged me. That particular little like they're having a fire, the whole thing should have become a bomb, but whatever, you know.
There's also
Um,
when they walk, when they Murphy,
The
when they
science
walk,
is awful.
when they walk to the space station, they should be crushed like bugs because there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
way,
Yeah, they
there's no way
should not be
they're
walking.
like that
They're
part
so
bothered me
far
the
under
most.
the water.
Yeah,
Like,
it should be a mini sub that takes them to the door, and they should just walk through the mini sub. Like that's how they should have shot it.
Oh,
But they were like, "No, you're gonna
Yeah.
walk on the ocean floor." Do you know the amount of pressure that would, that makes? I agree. There's stupid things in this movie, and I understand why people have problems with it. But at the
why
same
did
time,
they need a sub? Why didn't they just snorkel down?
I know they're like literally. I think they're like 10,000 feet down. Like it's insane.
Oh, they
amount of
are.
pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like maybe
20,000
they say it's
leagues under the
3,000,
sea.
but either way, it's too many. That's too
Yeah.
too friggin' many. You ever gone 20 feet under? Your head starts to cave in. It hurts.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't care how good those suits are. There's no way that you saw what
There's no
we saw
way.
what happened with the Titanic thing with the carbon fiber sub. Like like it
Yeah.
needs to be made of super super strong. That glass would shatter in seconds. So
yeah.
So yeah, the team they've donned their space suits, or their dive suits, and they've walked to the spacecraft to find that the door is open for them. Beth spots footprints in the dust, and Barnes divides the team into two groups. Beth and Norman use the
Yeah,
elevator to access the bridge. Okay.
It's even funnier that way. It's like they walked through that extreme pressure environment in what look like spacesuits, which are built for the opposite of that, a no pressure environment. So they're
the
Oh my
three
God,
also
it just would've-
the footprints, right? With 300 years, like you could still like, wouldn't there be dust? Like more dust on the
unless
footprint.
it's a vacuum environment. Unless it's a vacuum
Yeah.
environment, there's
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was entirely. I mean, it must have been vacuumed environment because there's no water
There's
in
no
the
water.
ship. So and it was sealed until the door magically opened for them for an unexplained reason. It's never explained why the door opens.
The sphere opened it.
yeah.
That's what I think, but
The sphere just opened it serendipitously. So yeah, these guys go their separate ways. Beth and Norman find this corpse with like a hammerhead in it, and this is where I'm thinking, okay, so maybe this is the time travel bit. One of these guys end up like, this is supposed to be Norman or Dr. Grant, as we're gonna call him. I was expecting this to be like that kind of timey-wimey stuff, but we didn't even really get
No,
that.
it's
They
not.
just kind of are like, well, what's this?
No,
So
it's a future astronaut guy.
Yeah.
Like in the future,
Yeah,
astronauts go into space and discover a sphere.
Yeah,
from
so they end up
2043.
finding the flight. Oh my God, cat. Sorry. They end up
Italia.
finding the flight logs of this ship. They discover that it's in English, which is just like, wait, this is an American ship, or it's just an English, a ship in English. It can, it doesn't have to be American. And then they discover that there's one unknown entry, and that's the only one that they play, and it plays this
Right.
wild graphic simulation that this is the ship going through a black hole. This was another part of the film that bugged me, because you have up until the year, what was like 2034, to search time in the future. You have all these records up to the year 2034. You play the unknown entry one, and that's it. You don't play any of the events that led up to that. You don't.
Yes.
You're not curious at all of like the technology and the things that went by. You don't go into any of that discussion. Like, what is that? Why not?
They also go.
why
They also
don't
go
we-
back. They go back multiple times. So they never go back to that room. Right.
Yeah, they never go back to
isn't
the
that
room. They just go back to the sphere. They find the sphere and they're enamored with that, and they only just go to this room. It keeps drawing them in.
It bothers me too, because you're right. Why don't they care? they're all scientists. They're all, especially one of them. Like you'd think it'd be Ted, right? Like that would be like, no, I'm going to go check that out because only Norman and Beth get to that computer and play that thing. Harry and Ted never go up there. So I always thought that was weird too.
Did they even like they told them that like, oh well, this is what we found. It's like, okay, well we're not just gonna look at the other records, like what led them to the black hole. Maybe that has some, information. But
all information is destroyed within a black hole.
Well, Ted theorizes the ship time traveled through a black hole and arrived 300 years ago. And Harry believes the sphere is alive since the futuristic ship lacks information about the black hole. The team's presence could alter history, leading to their deaths in the habitat. The crew faces
a matter of deductive logic,
which disrupts the return. So yeah, this is where basically we get the scene where they're told there's a hell of a storm going. We're getting power disconnected, and we're gonna have to bunker down. And then we get Davan's favorite scene here, which is...
You see, it's curious. Ted did figure it out. Time travel. And when we get back, we're gonna tell everyone how it's possible, how it's done, what the dangers are. But then why 50 years in the future, when the spacecraft encounters a black hole, does the computer call it an unknown entry event? Why don't they know? If they don't know, it means we never told anyone. And if we never told anyone, it means we never made it back. Hence, we die down here. Just as a matter of deductive logic, Norm.
It's the only line in this movie that feels like it's from a time travel movie.
Yeah, that solidifies it as a time travel movie, honestly. Like, that line is like what solidifies it, because, you get the later story arc where they explain what happens. We'll get to that, but like
the rest of it, it's basically just what's that movie?
It's kind of like a horror movie after that.
Under the
little, but yeah, it becomes a horror movie after this bit, because we start getting the scenes where like Queen Latifah needs to go reset the sub.
One of those deep sea horror movies. Like...
Yeah, she ends up. Well, okay, so Harry gets obsessed with the sphere, and he goes to check it out at a curiosity. Which everyone's like, "What are you doing?" And then he just disappears because his reflection is sucked up in the sphere. So Norman goes after him, which he also gets sucked up into the sphere. And then they come back to the ship, and they're like freaking out. Queen Latifah has to go to the submersible, which is like an emergency sub. If anything goes, it just goes to the north with all the data, and it resets every 12 hours. So she ends up walking to go reset that, which she does. And on her way out, that's when she's attacked by jellyfish. We start getting these codes on the wall, and all these manifestations happen. I don't know if I actually got the screenshot of her in the jellyfish. Yeah, I think this is
super aggressive jellyfish.
Yeah, the whole scene where she's just super swarmed by jellyfish. I was like, okay, no. Like, the stingers wouldn't just sting through her suit. That's supposed to protect her from that depth of water. No.
She should be crushed.
Make a point not to think too hard in the making of this movie.
She should be crushed by the pressure of the water. So,
yeah, maybe if there
jellyfish can go down there.
Was filled with jellyfish. I don't know. It was an interesting choice. They basically did what they did with Samuel L. Jackson's character in Jurassic Park. Killed off the comms guy. Surprisingly, a shark didn't...
No, that's more like a Dennis Nedrying. That's more like getting shot in the face with the goop from the Dilophosaurus. You remember in the rain? That's more like that kind of kill.
Beth confirms the jellyfish is abnormal, and questions arise about her mental state. Harry wakes from a coma feeling euphoric, referencing leaving and never returning. Despite Fletcher's death, he remains calm and reacts strongly to the calamari. They try to feed him calamari, and he just like freaks out because he is not a fan of squid, because he's terrified by the book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which like plays into the whole thing. They eventually decrypt the whole like mathematical code, and they end up getting in communication with the sphere that's named Jerry, as we saw in the trailer.
Okay. And my biggest problem with the science of this movie is the mathematical code. And we'll get to it when you explain the Harry Jerry of it all. But that part bothers me.
So I think, is this the... It's a little hard to tell. I can't tell what's going on. Yeah. Norman and Ted dispute over Ted's jealousy of Harry, and I don't even really remember that bit, but Edmund brings them to the communication center where their computers behave strangely, and Harry deciphers the binary code and decrypts a message from Jerry. An entity that exhibits emotions. The situation intensifies as they hear noise outside and discover Edmund's mutilated body. As they investigate, they encounter strange egg shapes with a large entity approaching.
They're being attacked by eggs now. It's a really interesting choice.
Yeah,
you know, when it comes to the Harry and Jerry of it all,
I forgot about that.
One of the most annoying scenes for me.
Okay, I forgot about the whole egg
scene. He's like, "Stop calling me Jerry," and then he just proceeds to keep calling him Jerry. He's like, "Well, Jerry, what do you want me to call you then, Jerry? If you don't like Jerry, what should we call you then, Jerry?" Just like, you can say those sentences without Jerry. He just told you to stop calling him Jerry, and you just insist on doing it over and over again. Like, it's so annoying. Very clunky.
That's the Dustin Hoffman style of acting, repeating what you're trying to say. That's you know.
Yeah, definitely his style of acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot about the whole egg scene, about the giant eggs that were falling down, and it was just like some giant squid just shitting eggs all over the submersible. Yeah. I was like, okay, that's pretty weird.
Like, it's getting closer.
So yeah, Norman contacts Jerry, who can hear them directly as Norman asks to communicate privately. Jerry grows petulant, and a colossal squid approaches the habitat. Jerry threatens them before a sudden fire breaks out, which they should have blown up in a bomb, in my opinion, because they have a helium atmosphere. During the chaos, Ted sustains a fatal injury.
Helium's not combustible. Or they wouldn't put it in kids' balloons.
Well, and they said the reason why they are not breathing oxygen is because it's toxic at over 2.3%, which is what they would need to breathe down there or something like that. So that's why they're breathing helium.
So yeah, basically, through the chaos, we lose Barnes and Liev Schreiber's character. He gets blasted in the face with a bunch of fire. He dies a really horrible death. Like he
kind of gets barbecued.
He's getting crushed to death. Yeah, he's getting crushed to death, and he just gets a blowtorch to the face, and he screams until he can't anymore.
Yep, kind of awful.
So yeah,
I mean, Norman and Harry kind of kill everybody when you think about it, because they go into this, they go into the sphere, especially Harry, and they kind of ruin it for everybody. Like and Harry should have known better. That was the part that is kind of annoying.
True.
So
yeah, a lot of annoying. The more we talk about this movie, the worse it's getting.
You know what's funny is, do you guys ever have a movie where you're like, this makes no sense, but I love this movie, or I like this movie, like it's bad, or it's like most people don't like it, but you like it. That's this movie for me.
Yeah. Me and Murphy run into those discussions on this podcast often.
So yeah, this is where we basically get Davin's part or not Davin, this is Jeff's favorite part. Beth ventures into the spaceship under the guise of searching for food and creating distrust among the survivors. Beth plants mines around the spaceship, and Norman deciphers a message from Jerry, realizing that Jerry is actually Harry. Norman explains this to Beth and recounts the significance of the squid from
Harry? Should I call you Harry now, Harry? Harry, do you like the name Harry? Harry? Or did you like Jerry better? Jerry? Harry?
Which happened, whatever it was, 10 or 15 years ago, which is so distorted in your head. I was out there, you almost got me killed. The man tried to save my life. You now want me to disbelieve Harry?
Yes, I want you to disbelieve Harry. I want you to look at me and believe me for one time, Norman. Don't you... Look at me, Norman. Am I telling you the truth?
You weren't there, Beth.
You want to believe Harry? Norman, then that's fine. okay? Because he's done everything but part the sea for you since we've been down here, okay? But I'm telling you,
he's been sleeping.
He is not
Yeah.
telling
reading his
you
book.
the truth.
This is not about
The dialogue in this movie doesn't make a lot of sense.
Is it? Who's this about?
Like it's
He didn't tell
like
you
this
what's
scene
inside the
seems like it's
sphere,
from a
did he?
different movie.
You didn't tell him, did you? You
Her
didn't
hair
tell him
sounds
what's inside the sphere.
And how would you know that, Beth?
How would you know that, Beth?
They never explained what was in the sphere too. That's another thing that bothers me about this
Because
movie.
they didn't
Like,
have a
that-
good one, which it's better.
They did.
If they'd have
yeah.
just given us a bad explanation, it would have been worse. I'll take the mystery over.
There's a
bad
little man in
explanation.
there. It's the guy from the Matrix. It's the architect. That's
belt
It's
is
just,
off.
it's just a mouse running on a wheel.
yeah.
The galaxy is on Orion's belt.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get
Maybe there's a black hole in there.
Maybe. Norman eventually figures out that Jerry is not Jerry and is in fact Harry, and that's when the shit just starts unraveling.
Jerry's Harry. Jerry is Harry.
Yeah, it's a Harry situation with Jerry, Harry, Derry, and Sharon Stone. They start getting crazier. Everyone's dead. They're waiting for the storm to pass, which eventually it does. Oh God, there's so many screenshots. Let's just jump a few. Anyway, yeah, Beth and Harry receive a signal from the surface indicating a sub will arrive in 6 hours, and tensions escalate as Norman is attacked by sea snakes, prompting Beth to save him without emotion. She acts so like cold all of a sudden. She confines him to a lab, ordering him to sedate himself. When he refuses, she floods the lab and Norman escapes via the airlock. And I guess that's like that whole scene where, we were getting him like freaking out. Oh yeah, they've gotten to the right. So they decide they need to leave because like I think the facility is gonna explode. Yeah, that's right. They realize she set up bombs. So they need to leave before it explodes. They get into the sub, and that's when things start getting really wacky because they're all having mad hallucinations about where they are and what is exactly happening, and you get this jumpy mess of them being at the sphere, them being inside, and then he's like, "No, we are inside the submarine, and we're getting out of here." And Dustin Hoffman manages to push the red button, and the place explodes, and they end up making the surface, and then they have to do the decompression chamber. And that's where we get the scene where it's like we're not dead, so obviously if we're not dead then we don't tell anybody. But how do we not tell anybody? We make ourselves forget,
Or just don't tell anybody. Like how did it almost ruins my favorite scene because he could have ended that sentence, well, we obviously die down here, or just don't tell anybody.
Or what when the thing blows up and the explosion pushes them up to the surface or whatever, they just die, and then that's the end of the movie. You know what I mean? Like
the end of the movie,
yeah, like that would have been a good ending too. Like I could have bought that. It might have been better because everyone would have walked out of the theater went, yeah, they deserve to die.
Matter of deductive logic.
None of them were redeemable.
So yeah, Harry proposes they all collectively forget, and they use their powers to do so, which activates the sphere to go flying out of the ocean and disappear off into space, leaving people wondering what the hell that was. And that's the end of the movie.
Yep.
I was in the audience wondering what the hell that movie was.
Yes.
I chose this movie because I've showed it to like Dave, I showed it to Amanda, and everyone always kind of comes away with the same general reaction, and I wanted to see what your two reactions would be. It's usually the same. It's usually like, huh? Like I don't get it. Why is this movie? It's kind of usually people's reaction to it, and that's kind of what I love about it. Is that everyone's always perplexed by it. They're like, what? Well, I don't get it. It's like, what?
I feel like studios just get to the end of the year and have like $40 million left lying around, and they're like, let's just make another Michael Crichton.
Yeah,
Doesn't
they're like, he did
matter.
really good with Jurassic Park. This should be successful. It's Jurassic Park underwater. It's gonna make us millions. Yes, what a wonderful idea. Wow, wow, wow.
It's fine, true.
Yeah.
That's why I was pitched.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a
which
line
performance?
from. I was gonna say I'm gonna take a line from
Yeah.
friend of the show, Michael Henry. This was a movie of all time. And I would say the best performance that held up in this movie of all time was Samuel L. Jackson's. Also, probably Liev Schreiber. You know, actually, no, Liev Schreiber. I'm giving it to Liev Schreiber over Samuel Jackson because he was asleep half the time.
Jeff?
My favorite performance in the movie is I probably give it to Dustin Hoffman. I know you guys probably think that's crazy, but I enjoy Dustin Hoffman in this movie.
Okay.
And I don't always.
I'll give it to Samuel L. Jackson because he did sleep through half of this movie, and I feel like that was meta because probably so did the audience. Yeah, it's. Look, I'll say this: of the three movies a Mater has brought onto this this podcast, this is the best one.
What was the other? What was the? I know American President. What was the other movie?
Gattaca.
Gattaca.
Gattaca was just boring.
Do you know what's
this
funny?
movie kept me more engaged than Gattaca did.
Dave brought that one on too, right? And that is funny because that's one of Rich's, our other brother's favorite movie is Gattaca. He really loves that movie. I think that movie's boring as hell. You know, it's so slow.
And Jude Law always sucks, I find.
So is American President Dave's favorite movie, or was that just a
No?
Okay.
No. It was one of Mom's movies that she liked. It wasn't her favorite movie.
But I wanted to know what Dave's favorite movie was, because if it was American President, then we've had all three Mater's favorite movies on the show. But if not, then we have to get Dave on with his.
This isn't my favorite
Jeff's
movie. Yeah, it's not my favorite movie, but you know what? It is my favorite bad movie.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that qualifies.
All right. The setting aesthetic.
So what is that, like A, B, or?
No, it's just like in general thoughts. It was a bit gray and a bit drab. Like
it's claustrophobic. It's meant to be. It's not very well lit because there's no light down at the bottom of the ocean. You know, so it should be pitch
apparently
dark.
Sharon Stone was like talking to the cinematographer of the film, and she was all like, "Don't shoot me from hard light. Don't shoot me from underneath. I want to look glamorous." And he just laughed at her face and was like, "This is a film underwater where there's no light, so screw your glamorous. It's gonna be what it is."
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, because there's not a lot going on as far as like the sets. Everything's gray steel, everything's dark and blue, and the poster for the movie is very much how the movie is shot. You know.
Yeah, there's like three rooms. There's like in the sub, there's in the kitchen or the galley. There's like the room with the Harry Jerry TV. And those are like your sets in the room with the sphere in it. But like that's the whole movie.
Yeah. By the way, my favorite movie is JFK. But
really, you Maters love your American presidents.
Yes, we like our American presidents.
Trust me, we are related. We are related. We're just very different. All right. Well, let's get to some delicious morsels.
So for movie morsels for the film Sphere from 1998, as Jeff mentioned earlier, Samuel L. Jackson would work on this film during the week and then work on Jackie Brown from 1997 on the weekends. The jellyfish attack sequence used a combination of puppets, computer graphics imagery, and footage of real jellyfish filmed at a nearby aquarium. The footage of the real jellyfish was played at 3 to 5 times its normal speed to make the jellyfish appear more aggressive.
They were
Dustin
very
Hoffman,
aggressive jellyfish.
They were so
most aggressive I've ever seen.
They could crush a
What
suit
about,
in
like,
seconds.
The most ridiculous on film possibly is to be swarmed by jellyfish.
It was one of the worst. She's like, help me, help me.
I think it's great that it's Queen Latifah too. Yeah, I think that's the best part about it.
They're getting in my suit. They're getting in my suit. It's just like, well, then how is the water not getting in your suit? And then,
Yeah,
like,
how are you
eventually the
talking?
water does start to, yeah.
Once the water gets in your suit, all the pressure should be getting in your suit too. And
Yeah,
so
then the pressure becomes an issue. Until then,
Yeah.
not
Right.
an issue.
She becomes Queen Lajam. So Dustin Hoffman expressed some disappointment with the film. He felt it wasn't yet ready to be released when it was, but they didn't have the time to cover them all. They had to deliver what they had for the release date, which he felt was an incomplete film. So, yeah. Beth's Sharon Stone character was totally distrustful of Captain Barnes, played by Peter Coyote. Yeah. In the early stages of scripting, she believed that he was responsible for the predicament. In a critical flooding scene, Beth intentionally locked Barnes inside a tank and left him there to drown. In the final script, the subplot was scrapped and the death of Barnes was altered to an accident with no involvement from Beth. Order and reason in which... So, yeah.
I was just going to say, like, I think they should have kept that in because I think Harry, Norman, and Beth should all be irredeemable characters by the end of the movie. And I don't feel like Beth really gets to that place the same way that Harry and Norman do. Because they went into the sphere first and basically made the whole thing happen. Whereas with Beth, she's just was kind of there and just happened to survive, and she went in the sphere after. So that's why I think she didn't die. Whereas Ted didn't, and like all the other people didn't go to the sphere, so they got killed.
Yeah, so this is a great segue into the next movie more. So order and reason in which people enter the sphere in the movie. 1, Harry, mainly from curiosity. 2, Norman, accidentally while tending to an unconscious Harry. And 3, Beth, to spite Norman and out of curiosity. But order and reason which people enter the sphere in the book. Harry, from curiosity. Beth, presumably just to gain power over the men on the crew. And 3, Norman, specifically to gain the power to combat Harry and Beth.
Yes.
That's awful.
Apparently the book is much different from this movie.
And even worse.
Apparently it's better.
Really?
So, I haven't read
sound
it.
better. But...
in the book, the sphere was supposed to be visualized as a perfectly polished silver sphere with grooved convolutions that acted as a door opening so that people could enter. The movie originally had planned to use a sphere that had the same qualities, perfectly polished in silver, but soon found out that if it was placed in a dark room, the reflection would look almost entirely black and not as impressive. The special effects designer and director Barry Levinson eventually decided to go with a champagne-colored sphere due to how it looked on screen. And this is my favorite movie morsel. Andre Braugher was originally cast as Harry. If you're not familiar with that name, that is Captain Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He would have been in this film over Samuel L. Jackson, which could have been interesting.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. Cinematography, Adam Greenberg. Edited by Stu Linder. Music by Elliot Goldenthal. Release date of February 19th, 1998. A running time of 134 minutes with a budget of $73 to $80 million and a box office of $73.4 million. This movie had lost...
Barely broke even.
In the box office.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't get
rewatchability. Jeff, how many times you rewatched this movie?
I've probably watched this movie, I'm not going to lie, like 10 times. You know, because I've showed it to people, and I'm like, you gotta watch this bad movie.
Sucker for punishment.
I have a sucker for. I've watched it. I think I watched it 3 times just for this show, because I watched it today. I watched it when you first booked me on the show, and then I showed Amanda the show, the movie. So I've watched it 3 times in the last like 7 months.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, so yeah, I've seen it a lot of times. So, and I would watch it again. I have no problem.
Wow. I don't think I'll be watching this one again.
I'm gonna pass. Maybe if I have like a Michael Crichton film night. I'm sure there's a third one he's made. I don't feel like there's many after this one though.
Like I can't go back for the science or anything because that's all awful. I don't know.
I feel like the time travel science isn't bad, but the ocean science is horrible.
The time travel science is bad because apparently they went through a black hole to get there. That's awful.
Well, what's wrong? Don't they do that in like Interstellar though?
Yeah,
isn't
I was
that the
gonna
whole
say,
premise?
don't they enter a black hole in Interstellar? Yeah.
That movie science is awful as well. You don't go through a black hole and end up in a bookshelf. Like that movie is just fantasy. There's no science in that movie.
Oh, I thought isn't there like like astrophysical like basically calculations or equations where the theory is that if you go into a black hole, there is a possibility you end up somewhere else in time.
Yeah.
Right? No. Because and Harry says that in the movie. He says like, you know, if you fly, he's like it's possible but not probable. You know, because they don't know. And Ted says we've never flown into one, so nobody knows. You know, so it's not known until proven otherwise. Anyway,
we know what we know.
I think we know what black holes
we don't know
are.
what we don't know.
I think we know they're collapsed stars that have immense gravity and then suck in everything and nothing can get out. Though it has been come down to know recently that they do actually diffuse energy in the form of heat, which wasn't thought to be the case before. But anyway. I don't think you can fly through them, and I'm pretty sure we're pretty confident about that. All right, does it hold up?
I mean, for me it does, but I understand if you don't vote. If you don't vote for it, I get it. I like it. But I think it's incomplete. That's how I look at it. It's an incomplete project that could have been much better.
Yeah, it's an incomplete blockbuster from the late '90s. It's very late '90s. It's evident of that.
Mm-hmm. It is very.
It's not. I can't say I enjoyed it. Like I wanted to. I enjoyed the first like 30 minutes of it, and then it just was like, where is this? What is happening? Where are we going? Why is this getting worse? What is happening? It's getting worse. The movie's gotten super bad. I don't like this movie. It doesn't hold up, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's fair. I knew it wouldn't hold up. I knew you guys wouldn't say it held up because nobody seems to think it's good. And I don't even think it's good, but I see potential in this movie. I feel like it could have been good.
I'll say this, I wasn't bored watching it. Which I can't say like for the American President or Gattaca. I was bored to tears watching those. But this I actually sat through and I was fine. But then when I got to the end of it and I was just like, well, that was dumb. But like I was fine just sitting there and watching it. It was a perfectly fine way to spend an hour and a half, I guess. But it's dumb and incomplete and disjointed, and the performances aren't great. Yes. So no, for me it doesn't hold up. But you know that still makes it a B movie, Jeff.
Yes.
You saved it from the garbage pile.
It's a garbage pile movie.
It was a top shelf Mater pick. It was.
That everybody always goes, you like that movie? I go, yeah. And then I have to explain myself, and it doesn't go well.
Well, here we go. Let's move on to the next one. So, move on to Theater 3. We have